welcome. Let me bring my cute little podium up here as we talk today about finding your passion. So as I was thinking about this, I was thinking that sometimes we will think that finding our passion is one main thing. Does anybody think that? Like we're all born, we all have like one passion. And if we don't find, when we find our passion, the lights go on. And if we're not living our passion, we're like, oh my God, I'm not living my passion. But you know, next Thursday when I can live my passion, the lights will go on. That's not how we do it. And as I was thinking about this week, because this is the way I do my talks, I spend most of the week, you know, like walking into things and brooding. But it struck me that the goal of finding your passion may be to find those things that you love. And we're going to talk about that. To find those things you love doing and that light you up and that give you wings. But it's also to have our everyday lives transformed by the passion and the joy and the energy that we bring to everything. So I think that is where I invite us to think finding our passion may be. Because we have it in us to bring that to everything we do. A Course in Miracles teaches, those who seek the light are merely covering their eyes. I love that image. Those who seek the light are merely covering their eyes. The light is in them now. Enlightenment is but a recognition, not a change at all. Do y'all agree with that? Yes. The light is in here. This is what we teach. We teach that we are divine, that we are manifestations and expressions, each of us, in our own way, of that divine light. And so when we look around, oh, I hope the light comes on, I'm going to find my passion, the light's going to come on. It's here. All we need to do is unpack all the stuff we have put on it so that we can shine it ourselves. Living with passion is the recognition that the light is already here. And it's our privilege to apply it everywhere, in every aspect of our lives. Do we always do that? No. Do I always do it? No. I've spoken before about a book I like called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by a hospice worker named Bronnie Ware. And as she sat with people going through their transitions over and over and over, she found that they had very similar regrets as they approached their transition. And the top one was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I'd had the courage to live the life true to myself, not what others expect. Does this resonate with anybody out there? Because it truly does with me. This is the wish of people who wish they had had the opportunity to have the courage to step into the life that called to them, to listen to the voice of love and joy inside their head saying, this is not what I need to be doing, this is what I need to be doing. Because this is what lights me up. We spend so much time thinking and trying to do what other people tell us we should do, or my personal favorite, doing what we think other people would tell us we should do if we ask them. That's what we in the law call triple hearsay. You know, we don't even ask, we don't even know, we just think that's what they're going to say, so we go ahead and do it anyway. We think that we need to live a certain way, and we miss opportunities. We miss the opportunity to shine our own light. We miss the opportunity to share our own special gifts. And that's one of the things I want us to think about today. And when we walk out of here, I want you to keep thinking about how do you unpack your own special gifts to bring your joy, to bring your specialness to everything that you do. Okay, now when we grow up, I don't know if your childhood was at all like mine, but we are not really led to do that. How many of y'all had parents that say, I don't care what you do, I just want you to be happy? Show of hands. Okay, Sydney, great, we had a few people. But you tell your parents, you're coming up and you tell your parents, I think I want to be a musician. I want to be an artist. You can't eat that. You got to get a job. You got to make money. You got to do this. You got to, be a professional. You can't, do that. That's fine. Do it on the weekends. I came across a quote from an unknown author that I love. And he wrote, or she wrote, when I was in grade school, they told me to write down what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand life. Yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be happy. We listen to what we're told about ourselves. We listen to what others tell us about our abilities and our prospects, and we buy into it. Okay, now look at me. I have glasses. I got glasses when I was 8 years old. I was really bad at sports. I didn't have any friends. I've covered that in another talk. Okay, so what happens? People say, you're really smart. They confuse myopia with vocation. Right? And so they say, you should be a lawyer because you are bad at sports, you don't have any friends, and you wear glasses. Okay, so here we are. You know, 50 years later, it's like, Melanie, wake up. You know, maybe there's something else you need to be doing. But no, that's what we listen to. That's what we buy. Did that happen to anybody else?
Yes.
I don't want you to confess you had no friends, but, you know, that's what happens. You know, or maybe flip it. People who are very popular, girls who are very pretty, maybe they're told they can't go into a profession. Maybe they're told they need to be something else. I don't know. But we listen and we buy it, and we build those big walls. We build those boxes, and we build them ourselves. And then we stand back and we look at them and we go, man, that's a big wall. I can't get around that. Hello? You built it. You can just blow it down. That's a big wall, but it's not really a wall. We trade joy for safe. We trade what we can be, what we can bring for what is safe. Dr. Mark Gaffney writes, the greatest crisis of our lives is not economic, intellectual, or even what we might call religious. It is a crisis of imagination. It's a crisis of imagination, one of the 12 powers. He writes, the greatest crisis of our lives is that we are getting stuck on our paths because we are unable to reimagine our lives differently than they are right now. We are unable to reimagine what we might be. We're unable to take a look and say, no, maybe I can just tweak this. Maybe I can radically change it. Maybe I can do something entirely different. He quotes Master Nachman, who says, we need to take a risk to move beyond what is safe, to move into what we can only reach if we are willing to cross the abyss. Find your risk, and you will find yourself. Now, risk is scary. Risk is something that we shy away from. But so often, when we find our risk, we find ourselves. We give up who we are for what we might become. Okay, now, does this mean that you have to quit your job, become a cabinet maker, and move to Vermont? No, it doesn't mean, I can't do that. I've got a wife, 3 kids, 4 jobs, it ain't going to happen. But what it does mean, most of them are part-time for those who are watching. But what it does mean is that we can take a look at what we assume about ourselves. We can take a look at the judgments we make about ourselves. We can say, is this where I feel happy? We can remember what we like to do as kids. Isn't that what they teach? If you want to find what your passion is, what did you play at when you were a kid? What did you love? And sometimes that is something you still love. That is something you should take a look at and maybe re-examine. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does that ring true for anybody? Does anybody do now what they loved to do as a kid?
Yes.
Yes.
Gay said she ate dirt, and I said, you're still eating dirt.
Okay, well, there you go. Now there's an example.
I told my mother I ate dirt. She said, well, it doesn't kill, fattens.
You know, kids eat weird stuff. My sister ate napkins. Thank God she's not here. But it's true. Okay. But finding your passion. Actually, I used to like science kids. I used to like, you know, picking up rats out of the field and dissecting them and looking at things through microscopes, and I still love that. You know, not doing it, but I still love science and technology, and, no, seriously, pay attention to stuff you loved as a kid, because it may be where your heart is now. Finding your passion, it comes through listening to what lights you up. It comes through listening to your heart. It comes through taking the trip from here to here and listening to what your heart is telling you. Now, it may not be, and I said this at the beginning, it may not just be one thing. Don't limit yourself by thinking, I'm here for one grand passion. I'm here for one great thing, and everything else is just collateral dressing. No. When you have a gift, when you are a teacher or a healer or a musician or an artist, you can bring it everywhere. You can bring it everywhere. You don't have to just limit. I'm going to tell a story on one of our congregants here, who is telling us a job-related story. She is an employer, and so she counsels employees. And she was talking to one employee, and she was doing it in a wonderfully empathetic and giving and connected way. And the way she tells the story is, she said, the employee looked at her and said, where do you go to church? And she said, what? And the employee said, I can tell from the way you're walking that you must be part of an amazing spiritual community because of the way you're talking to me. Think about that. Who does that at work? I am so proud of that person because it just shows that you can take whatever gifts you have, whatever you learn, whatever you grow into, and use it in so many different areas. Look at the roles you play in your life. Parent, teacher, friend, daughter, son, sister, whatever. You can bring your passion and your gifts and your awareness and your insights to all of them. Don't believe there is a place in your life where your gifts do not belong. Do you ever tell yourself that? I can be one, one of the things I say about One World is, I like coming here because it's a place that we can act as we should act everywhere. We can be here as we should be out there. Well, the challenge is to start being it out there. Connected, loving, supportive, and believe it, it's hard for me because I'm in a profession, I'm a lawyer, and it's not the most connected and loving outfit going. I had 2 days of deposition this week, and after each of them, I had to go home and sage myself. But it's a challenge to bring these qualities, however you can, to the work you do and the places that you are. Okay, so you've listened to your heart. You have thought about what just lights you up. You have decided to risk to take that step. So what do you do next? You take that step. You get up and you act, because we are all about action. Okay, now let me talk about action. Action is scary. We tend to think it's so easy. You get up and act. Why is it hard for me to act? And you tell me if this resonates with you. Because when I act, before I act, in my mind, as I'm thinking about what's going on, it's perfect. Does this ever strike you? Before I actually step into the muck of physical reality, it is perfect. That motion is perfect. That talk is perfect. People come, they gather around me and they say, my God, my life is transformed. Okay, that's all in my head. What do I sacrifice when I act? It goes away. As I think of that perfect whatever I'm going to do, the minute I step down to do it, the minute I sit down to write it, I stand up to do it, physical reality intrudes, right? And the perfection that it has become in my mind, in my dreams, goes away because I'm actually trusting the universe to co-create with me something different. This is where faith comes in. Because you are taking your dreams and your visions and you're saying, I'm going to put my energy behind them and I am going to trust that the universe will co-create with me something better, something wonderful, something surprising. And that is the way we make a difference in this world, because we can't just go with what we dream. Because why? Because nothing happens. Nothing changes, right? Now the seduction is that when we dream it and when we think it, what do psychologists tell us? It's almost the same as doing it. I remember the story of a prisoner of war during Vietnam, who every single day for 6 years, as he was in a North Vietnamese prison camp, played a game of golf in his mind. Detailed, he detailed every putt, every hit, every lie, every whatever, and he did it every day. And when he got out, without having picked up a club for 6 years, he shot below par. Why? Because he had done it every day, and that's the way our minds work. When we think about it, for us, it's the same almost as doing it. Was it Yo-Yo Ma said, you don't just practice, you practice in your mind, because it almost achieves the same thing. That's not the way it works when you're bringing your vision into reality. You have to actually sacrifice that perfect, that wonderful, and get up and do it. And trust that the universe will co-create something wonderful with you. And sometimes it's a loss. Sometimes it's more fun to sit and just think about it. We tend to live, and I do this, as though time will never run out. Don't you think that? You always think, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it next week. We tend to think that we have time to do this stuff. And that's one reason I love the Stoics, is because they're always reminding us that we don't. They're always reminding us that you have to do it now. You live every day as though it's your first and as though it's your last. Because you just never know. Don't waste your life thinking that you can do this later, you can do it next week. That's not the way it works. Epictetus asks, How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Isn't that a great way of putting it? Why not start now? Why not demand the best for yourself right now? In his book, The Active Life, Parker Palmer wrote, "To be fully alive is to act. Action is more than movement. It is movement that involves expression, discovery, the formation of ourselves and our world. As we act, we not only express what is in us and help give shape to the world, we also receive what is outside us and we reshape our inner selves. When we act, the world acts back." Don't you find that? When you step out to do a project, when you write a song, when you create anything, you act, and the world, the universe adds its energy to it. And you are surprised, you are enlivened, you are amazed at what together you can create. That is intentional action coming from your heart and your belief and your knowing, your faith, that the universe will help you co-create something wonderful. Intentional action. I ran across a story about a quote from Seneca, another Stoic philosopher. He says that if you stop the average successful wealthy Roman patriarch as he's leaving his home and you ask him, "What are you going to do today, busy, important man? Where are you going? What are you doing?" He says, "I'm going to do things. I have many things to do." And they knew they were supposed to be doing things because that's what important, busy people do. They're running around. They see their friends running around doing all sorts of important, busy things. But that's not purposeful action. That's not intentional, focused action. That is what Seneca called busy idleness. Busy idleness. How many of us spend our days doing busy idleness? I don't know about you, but I can spend the entire day zooming around doing 9 different things, and at the end of the day, what have I accomplished? Was it anything on my list? No. It's just zooming around doing stuff. So what does this call for me to do? To be more discerning about how I spend my time, about the things I choose to focus my time on, to create boundaries, to not do things just because I can, to do things that help me shine my light, that give me passion and joy and purpose, because that's how you live your life with intentionality. So we act, we listen to our hearts, and then the other thing is we don't give up when it gets hard, right? Because sometimes we think finding our passion means it's all going to be easy, because we conflate passion with joy, with ease, with comfort. No, it's not always easy. Doing stuff that matters is not always easy. Thomas Edison once explained that in inventing, the first step is an intuition. How many of us have had that? You have an intuition. You have a, I want to do this. The next step is passion. And what happens then? The world steps in and difficulties arise. How many filaments did he have to test before he came up with the light bulb? Like 6,000. Right? That was, I mean, imagine this guy. How many of us would have quit at like, 1500? I'm sorry, we're using candles from now till hell freezes over. You know, but no, he knew there was a way to do it and he kept doing it. We don't quit. You expect that it's going to be challenging, and then you just say, I have a vision. I know that this is going to happen, and you just keep working at it. You just keep doing it because it's worth it. I think if we think about the challenges in our own lives, we realize that they are difficult, but they are worth it, right? When you write a song, when you build anything, you decide you want to do it, you decide you love it, you act, you trust, and you keep going. And that is how you express your passion, and that is how the universe gives you back more information about finding your passion. So I want to close with a quote from George Bernard Shaw that I really love, and I know you may have heard it before, but this is what he wrote. He wrote, "This is the true joy in life, being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Then he writes, life is no brief candle to me. It is sort of a splendid torch, which I have a hold of for the moment, and I want to make to burn as brightly as possible before handing it over to future generations. You just can't say it better than that. So in this coming week, think, how can you tap into your passion? How can you live as fully as possible as the bright, shining torch that you are? Thank you.